Hello, everyone out there on the internet. Nice to see you all. Boy, I had some oil of oregano this morning. First thing. Looks like some squirrels are having a tiff this morning. One of them chewed through one of the bird feeders yesterday. They sound like owls. Seriously, they do. It's an unusual morning, weather-wise. It feels warm. And the air has this sort of, hard to explain, it's like a humidity. Anyway, I had some oil of oregano this morning with black seed oil. And it has extra virgin olive oil. I'll say that again. Extra virgin olive oil as what's called a carrier oil. And so a carrier is basically a transport vehicle for delivering the benefits in a more exact and facilitated way. What does all that mean? It just means it helps to carry it along. Much how nitrogen, which makes up about 75% of our air, helps to carry oxygen along, serves as a transport vehicle. All right. I feel I had 6,000 milligrams of oregano this morning before anything else. And I stopped the supplement regime that had black seed oil in it already and ashwagandha. And I'm sticking with turmeric, neem, black seed oil, oil of oregano, biotin, collagen, and NAD+. This is the current supplement regime that I'm on. So it's a little shift, a little change. I also eliminated the omegas because I'm getting a lot of omegas from beef. And I'm having about a pound of beef every day. Been doing that for the last week. Today I'll have some mackerel in can and some garbanzo beans and an Indian packet of food with maybe some paneer cheese. We'll see. Overcast this morning. And as I said before, the weather feels very warm and humid, which is strange this time of year for this time. So I'm very excited about this change of supplements. A little shift. The oil of oregano I'm especially amped about, and I'm going to talk to you about it today. Normally I post these in 9x16 for social media. However, I want to do this as long form, and it's just going to be non-promotional really. I'll talk to you about the product that I'm using and where it comes from, where I received it from, which is TikTok. However, this will not be used as a sponsored video for any sort of commission. That said, if you do go to my TikTok and click on one of the links that talks about oil of oregano, you go to the TikTok shop through that affiliate link, I will receive a commission, and I would be very grateful to you for that. Okay. So, Micro Ingredients is the supplement provider, and they're amazing. I can't speak highly enough about them. And the reason for it is all of their supplements are lab tested. They use, as I said before, for a carrier, extra virgin olive oil. It's an unprocessed oil, cold pressed, and it's lab tested. Good stuff. So I popped one of their soft gels this morning in my mouth. I took two. One gives you 3,000 milligrams. So I popped one in my mouth. I just wanted to feel and taste the spice. And so I had this burst, huge burst of black seed oil with oregano just gush into my mouth. And it just brightens your day. I mean, first of all, it's really good for your breath. Freshens your breath. And it's antimicrobial, antiviral. And it's antiparasitic, which I was discovering last night. There were 8 studies where there were trials of oil of oregano, where they put some drops in to petri dishes with various bacterial and parasitic strains, and they're just kaput. I mean, dead. Bye-bye. So I was very excited about that. And you can find multiple studies on it. Of course, it comes from the mint family, and the mint family altogether is miraculous. From peppermint giving you energy and aliveness, just like a spark of energy, I find. Alertness too, that's what you get from peppermint. And then of course there's the salvia strains, which is the sage strain. And you get all sorts of varietals with all differing effects, which are all miraculous. And then you have Tulsi, which is holy basil. And that's also considered Thai basil, and it can be used for culinary purposes, but it is an amazing adaptogen, which I've been using for years. Tulsi has been a staple. Whether in tea, it's calming and relaxing. It's a terrific adaptogen. When I say adaptogen, it's something that adapts to the body's needs. Whatever it is, it helps to balance things. And so oil of oregano is no different in that it helps to balance things out. However, it is what I would call the cure-all when you're coming down with a sickness or some sort of sensing a cold, whatever it is. Or if you just want to remove impurities from the body. Let's say that you've introduced some things to your body that you may not be copacetic with anymore. At the time you decided to, but now no. You'd rather have it out, which is the case for most of us. And so oil of oregano helps with that. And the black seed oil, which you can see right now, I've done a little bit of walking. So probably 5 minutes of walking and 3 minutes of talk. We're gonna get walking some more. You can see my face change. I can already feel a rush of anandamide coming into my body, which I normally get when I'm walking in the woods. However, this morning it's fast. It's faster than usual. So we're gonna talk about the science behind that and get to know a little bit better the endocannabinoid system, how it works, how old it is, and what its purpose is for. Which is speculative at this point because no one really pays for research to be done on the endocannabinoid system. Even though people are buying endocannabinoids left and right, in the United States at least, it's gained a lot of popularity since its quasi-legalization in a number of forms, which probably takes me into uncharted territory on YouTube for a reason. It's likely to be banned, so we're gonna have to be careful with that. So bear with me for a moment. Okay. Just a little prayer there. So as I was saying before, we're going to talk about a system that has existed in some form of consciousness in life forms for millions of years, i.e. the endocannabinoid system, or the ECS. And so the ECS is very unique. And like I said, hasn't been a whole lot of studies, funded at least, to find out more about it. And whenever that happens, I suddenly gain a lot of curiosity. Like, I want to find out a lot more about something that doesn't have much research behind it. And when discoveries have been made that are promising, it's immediately shut down. Those are the types of things I love to look into more. So we'll do it together. We will do it together. All right. So, as I was saying, black seed oil has a relationship with FAAH, which is an inhibitor. My understanding, and it's slight, and it's developing as I go every day with more study, is that FAAH has a direct relationship with an endocannabinoid that is synthesized in the body naturally. So this is not from any sort of plant intake. Anandamide is not from plant intake. I repeat, anandamide is made in the body. Therefore, we should have no issues discussing this publicly and openly without any sort of issues or worry of complaint and or banning. It is an endocannabinoid, anandamide. And it was discovered by an Israeli chemist in 1992. He's now deceased and has left a legacy on this unbelievable endocannabinoid. The reason why it's so remarkable is that anandamide, from a chemistry standpoint, is a direct relative, almost a twin, of tetrahydrocannabinol, which is THC. THC being the psychoactive component of cannabis, which is a plant. And we are talking about science. We're talking about reality. So it's an endocannabinoid, THC, which means it binds to the CB1, cannabinoid 1, and CB2, cannabinoid 2, receptors. What are receptors? That which receive information in the form of molecules that lead to a pharmacological reaction in the body. Okay? So now we're getting somewhere. This thing called anandamide, the bliss hormone, it's named after the word bliss in Sanskrit. Ananda means bliss. So we're getting somewhere now. Slowly. It's called distillation. It's called I breathe when I want to. I don't have to worry about rushing this information out to you, even though I'm pumped and excited to tell you about it. I care about myself. As should you. Care about yourself. It's a different state of consciousness once an anandamide starts to produce itself and distribute itself along the body, amongst the body. It is very powerful. And it's necessary. So why I say it's necessary has to do with more science. First of all, anandamide, as I said, is directly related to this FAAH, which black seed oil has an interaction with, preventing the reuptake of anandamide so that it pummels your neurological systems. The synapses are pummeled with anandamide molecules. And then there's a reaction with the entire body. That reaction is blissful. So black seed oil, directly related, along with turmeric. And let's talk about tryptophan for a moment, and then we'll talk about arachidonic acid. All of these components are part of the chain of anandamide that lead to this blissful contact with God and assist you in a number of ways that you may not be aware of or have thought about until today. So stay tuned, folks, because we're going to cover, and we are covering, a lot of ground. Okay. So we talked about how there's an endocannabinoid system in your body, mostly in your brain, however, all throughout. And what this does is when the CB1 and CB2 receptors are activated and receive input, they have a number of beneficial qualities for the body. They release a number of beneficial elements to the body. Judge all you want. No one has studied this really with funding, so we have to figure it out as guinea pigs. How long can you stand still waiting for something? Are you waiting for something? That's what anandamide asks you. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for something? Are you in urgency right now? You seem to have a phone in your hand, or you seem to be looking at a screen. Perhaps you're reclined and relaxed. Maybe you're driving. Perhaps you're taking a little smoke break at work. Are you in danger? What are you waiting for? That's what anandamide asks you. What's the urgency? Why this preoccupation with time? How important is it to you? How important is it to your happiness that you continue thinking about it? So I looked at what holds the most amount of anandamide and endocannabinoids in the body. I wanted to know this naturally because it's a bliss hormone. It's the bliss molecule. So I wanted to know a bit more about what holds the most of this. Here's what I found. The second largest concentration of endocannabinoids is in the colostrum and mother's milk, but especially the colostrum, which are the initial drops, the tiny little drops that come from the mother's nipple when feeding the baby at the moment of birth. You see, I recall when my daughter was born, I had already discussed with my ex-wife, my wife at the time, how we were going to give nutrients to our children. And we decided that mother's milk, direct from the nipple, would be the number one, and there would be no exceptions and no replacements. And I'm very thankful for this, that my ex-wife was totally on board. And she breastfed my daughter for 2 years, who was born first, and then she breastfed my son for 3 years. And he was reluctant to want to give it up until my daughter was making fun of him for having Chi-Chi too often. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give up the Chi-Chi. And that's when we gave him a little taste of ice cream, and the rest is history. So I'm saying all this because the second largest concentration of endocannabinoids and anandamide included in that is in mother's milk, colostrum. The absolute largest concentration, however, of endocannabinoids in the human body can only exist in the female body. And I wonder if you can guess where it is. I bet you some of you have. That's right. The placenta. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. The placenta, you mean that barrier that keeps everything from reaching the baby that would be considered impure? Yes, that's the placenta, the same thing. You mean the placenta, the same thing that sends off an umbilical cord to the baby after filtering through all that garbage, refines it into the perfect nutrients for the perfect growth and gestation over 9 months in the womb? Yes, that's exactly what I'm referring to, the same exact thing, the placenta. You mean the placenta, the same thing that 80% of mammals on Earth consume naturally, placentophagy, after birth? They consume the afterbirth? Yes. And it happens to be filled with a number of vitamins, nutrients, and enzymes, and blissful molecules that help to reset the female body in preparation for more life rearing. Yes. Not to mention, it helps a lot with endorphins. I mean a lot. You know, it might actually help with something called postpartum depression. Perhaps you've heard of that. And if you see me being somewhat snarky right now, it's because none of this is ever discussed. Not in the normal McDonald's land of birthing circles, where they literally schedule your birth date by inducing it, likely telling you, yeah, the baby's head hasn't turned, so we're going to have to do a cesarean. And you know, after we do a C-section, you'll never be able to deliver in the natural way ever. And so mark another permanent client on the list. Have as many children as you want, for we're going to rip them out when it is convenient for the schedule of our doctors in an unfamiliar, sterile place where you don't bring anything of familiarity with you and you are scared the entire time. Hence, we will give you not only the induction of your birth in the injection, but whatever pain reliever you need directly into your spine. How does that sound? That's why I'm snarky, because I see how there are elements of the body that are begging to be paid attention to for the relief of the mother and the baby. And let's just say across the board, and the father. Dare I say that? The other parent benefits from the idea of the mother receiving the perfect nutrients that are naturally made by the pharmacy of the body for her, in addition to the baby getting the same thing. You think it might have an effect on their mood. You think it might have an effect on their recovery, because it's a recovery for the baby and the mother. And let's just say it's a recovery for the father. Yes, it is a recovery for the father. The father is usually thrown to the wayside. He's usually not even looked at all. This happened to me in Mexico. I was as if I was a piece of meat. Do this, do that. We don't care to hear about you. We don't even want to give you any counseling options. No circles of people to talk to, no support. Do you see me being angry? No, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that a vital component of how this life was created is totally tossed to the trash, like most of the placentas are that come out of the womb, when they should be there to provide vital recovery nutrients for the mother so that she can provide the right nutrients for the baby and the system works fluidly and perfectly. I am concerned. I'm concerned about scheduling a birth. Yes. I mean, how frequently is it happening in the United States? I can tell you, if you're not a holistic doctor in Mexico, which there are so few, your pregnancy is scheduled. I'm saying your birth is scheduled. And your pregnancy too. This is when you can decide to take birth control. And there's some benefit to that. However, taking birth control is not what I recommend. I recommend Neem, and I've talked about that before. And of course, there are doctors probably furious right now. Why is this guy talking about this when he's not a medical doctor? He clearly doesn't understand the science. Well, here's what I understand. I'm a father. I've seen my ex-wife now go through 2 pregnancies, enough to be able to comment on my experiences. And if you'd like to take away my experiences and say that they're not valid because of your education, then I think we're going to have a problem. This is called free speech. This is called my life. This is called stay out of it. That's for the doctors who may be pissed because you'd rather be in the Maldives than to have to wait for the natural process to occur for a woman to give birth in the natural way. There are so few who take that to consideration. And trust me, I've seen so much worse than this when it comes to doctors and hospitals, when it has to do with babies. So I'm not going to go into it. Just try not to stay in my business. Come in and go out, just as I do with you. This has to do with my life, my children, what I've observed. And it's important for people to hear this because you may be a budding family or eager to have a family and to start from some place of renewal while we were hit with some form of death, unprecedented in history, that is just now starting to reveal its true colors. And I just, I pray for the medicine of this world and for those who practice it. Think of the body as not just a car that you have to work on like a mechanic, okay? Like it's something that you schedule in so that your calendar's full, so that you can pay your bills because you're so in debt, you don't know what to do but to fill your calendar with whatever excuse you can in the finding of problems in others. My prayer is that you totally reassess the way that you look at medicine, because that's not medicine, that's disease. That's looking for disease. That's facilitating disease. It's a problem. Like anyone has a problem, this is a notable problem. The scheduling of births for the convenience of the hospital is a huge problem. It's monumental. And so what happens when the baby is born? First of all, in normal situations in the hospital, which is not ideal, let me tell you. Well, typically it's a cesarean birth, so the baby is literally ripped out of the stomach of the mother, like ripped out from the front downward. It's not a natural birth. So the mother already is in a deficit as far as the experience. But this goes for the baby too. So the baby is ripped out, doesn't get the colostrum. The father isn't there to watch to make sure the umbilical cord's blood goes into the baby slowly and surely. I mean, some even take the entire apparatus. I'm saying the placenta with the umbilical cord connected, and it's called a lotus birth, where you have the entire source connected to the baby until the nature itself decides to sever it in a natural way. And at that point, usually, in most cases, the placenta is preserved in some form of vinegar. So it's pickled and salted, brined. And then it's eaten by the mother. She gets all the nutrients, as does the baby. But you can forget any of that ever happening. The mother's being tended to while the baby's been brought to another room. Who knows what's going on? But it's lots of shiny alien lights blasting into its eyes for the first time. Hello, this is your experience, and you're going to be cold. And you're going to be without the oxytocin that comes from the direct contact with your loved ones, your mother especially. So all of this is interrupted. You know, it's a torture chamber for a new life coming in. And you're being told this is empowerment, and you're being told this is the best thing to do, because your doctors are fucking assholes. And they know. If they don't know and they're saying ignorance is bliss, then I pray for the world. I mean, I'm already praying for the world, but I pray even more. If a doctor is aware of what they're actually doing to the baby and the mother and the father, the entire parental system is essentially being tortured and separated from one another. And everyone's confused. This is what we do? Okay, we got to give the APGAR right away? You mean some stranger's hands is going to be on my child? Okay, if it's a boy, let's chop part of its genitals off. It's called a circumcision. It's the genital mutilation of a baby within the first moments of its life. You know, first few days, whenever it happens, it's genital mutilation. And so let's just add that to the list of torturous, divisive things that are done to the baby to welcome that baby into the world with a number of problems. And then they get a number of injections. Yes, they have to have this injection and that injection right off the bat, weaken the immune system, no anandamide coming in. It's sickening. And forgive me, folks, if this is too much for you to bear, but it's happening to just about every single child that's born in Western society. So I just thought it would be a good time with the beginning of the year, as we're coming into massive changes and awareness that you know exactly what is going on to your child the first day it's born. Most of these children are put on bovine formula. So I am so fortunate to have watched the blood from the umbilical cords of my children go into them while they were born in perfectly set temperatured water births. And from there, my ex-wife had the opportunity to nurse immediately with direct contact of our children on her nipple. And there was union. Now the doctors got away with giving injections, of course, at that time. We're talking now 12 years for my daughter, 10 years for my son. I didn't have any awareness of what was being injected in their bodies and how detrimental it was, how unnecessary it was. I mean, tuberculosis, it can only be transmitted in a certain number of ways, which the baby will not be experiencing for a great number of years. And here it is, being introduced immediately. Here, take this. Who knows what else is in it? No one knows. So you're in the hands of the enemy when you go to the doctor. When you go to your gynecologist, you're in the hands of the enemy. Yes, you are. Ban me, block me. You think, it's a broken fucking record at this point in time. The banning and blocking. It's just get over yourself. Understand what I'm saying right now is sound. And it's evil. It's satanic, actually. How could it be anything but that? The devil's just laughing the entire time. I think of that scene in The Passion of the Christ, where you see the devil just smiling at how Jesus is just being torn to shreds by the Roman prefectorates. It's the same thing. Get over yourself. Times are changing. So forget that anandamide doesn't come to the baby, and the baby's taken away, given some alien treatments. And then you're questioning, when do I get to see my baby? How's my baby doing? When do I get to see him or her? When does that happen? Anyone want to give me some insights? Strangers that I've never met before, and want to give me some insights on my child who was just brought into this world? First seconds, moments of its life? Someone decides the priority over that child other than me? How's that right? In any way, shape, or form, how is that correct? And the answer is, it's not. It doesn't happen in nature, in most natural cases. And nature figures it out. Just figures it out on its own. But we, being made in the image and likeness of God himself, seem to not know. Even though we're here to be custodians over the animals of this planet, we seem to not know what to do. We have to trust the science. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not angry as much as I'm concerned. It's like you should be concerned too. Just as I was when I started hearing the horror stories. So it takes us full circle to what happens when that initial colostrum is introduced to the baby. Tons of anandamide, antibodies, vital nutrients are introduced to the baby. Right then and there, in a quantity that you would say is so negligible, it seems like something is wrong. In fact, I recall my ex-wife being concerned that she wasn't producing enough milk. And thanks to the doctor who we were working with, who is holistic and naturopathic and very wise and caring, informed us, along with the doula, who had 6 children, that yes, these drops in the beginning are small in quantity and super jam-packed with everything the baby needs to start up its body and work properly. That was how it was said to us. And then the milk will start to flow over time. And it did, just as the doctor and the doula said. The midwife, just as they said. And so all this time, the baby is receiving endocannabinoids in large quantities. And at the same time, the mother, who is breastfeeding, through the direct contact of melanin on melanin, any area of the body that has this melanin coloration. So lips on nipple, melanin on melanin, releases oxytocin in huge amounts. And oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It's a pain reliever, it's anti-inflammatory, and it helps with the bonding mechanism between humans to occur. It's absolutely vital. You get it from holding hands, but mouth on the nipple, major amounts. And so you can imagine, you take that away from a mother who has given birth, and she doesn't have the placenta, none of those endocannabinoids come in, none of those system reversing elements that would help with the recovery of the body are introduced. It's just tossed to the wayside, what have you. The baby's not getting mother's milk. There's no oxytocin, there's no anandamide. It was a traumatic birth, introduced with a bunch of shots. Partially castrated, if you're a boy. It's called a circumcision. So now you have an open wound. What a wonderful way to practice science. What a wonderful way to bring a life into this world and say, we're taking care of you. All set. Not to mention, if it were cesarean, you have to come back to this torture chamber every single time for the rest of your days if you want to have children. Can't do it the natural way now. That's been stopped. And it's scheduled. Very convenient. Don't worry, we'll give you an epidural. Everything will be fine. Epidural, take care of all the pain. In fact, you might just sleep and we'll help you with the baby. We'll take out some forceps, pull that baby through, because the baby's going to be asleep too. It's just a big knockout punch. What wonderful science. Yes, doctors, obstetricians, shame. Motherfucking shame on you. Seriously. Now is the time for me to say it. Because no one's watching. This has just fallen to the corner of the world somewhere. Maybe to be found posthumously hundreds of years down the road. Wow, he said something about this. But it seems like it was buried. Oh, was he one of those guys who was shadow banned for years? And because of it, people didn't get the vital information that they needed and thus struggled and suffered. Yes, he's one of them. Yes, he's one of them. He tried to warn us. He tried to tell us what was happening. But there were too many areas of interest with power over the medium itself to where they could just pull the plug on the poor guy. Poor us. We hurt because of it. Could have helped my child. They could have seen the light. They could have witnessed the truth. This man is coming from experience of what he observed directly. That must hold some validity. He seems to have studied the endocannabinoid system for a great number of years. That must hold some validity since no one's paying for the research to happen. Someone has to take it in their own hands and recount their own experiences. Yes. Yes. This is why I don't trust doctors. I don't trust them with a 1,000,000-foot-long pole. And I haven't for over a decade, and I'm the healthiest I've ever been as a result. Because I saw what was happening to babies. And I have traumatic experience with the loss of my first child. And I say this because it served as a catalyst to research and look into what the hell was going on that could have led to what otherwise should be a perfect birth, led to my daughter's death at the hands of satanic doctors who showed no remorse, complete indifference, and somehow, some way I have to come to terms that I contributed to this manifestation through my thoughts, feelings, and convictions. I have to take ownership over all this. So the reason why I'm 42 minutes in and telling you all of this right now, this moment, that I am responsible for all of this is because some part of my genetics and some part of my life decisions has led to the manifestations of all of the trauma, all of the problems, all of the issues, and now I feel a responsibility to inform you of that. And I'm not going to say I'm sorry. No. Because that would be foolish. That would allow me to put all of the blame on time and a lack of education. No. Instead, what I do now is I educate you. I talk to you about the truth. The truth, how I see it, is different than the truth that you see until you start to produce objective data. And what is objective data? It's things that you can observe and you can note. You can take note of them. That's objective. Subjective is something that you just feel is the truth and you talk about it that way. Like, I feel like he's kind of a bad guy, or I feel like he's kind of a good guy. I'm going to be quiet for a while. I got pedestrians coming. Practicing awareness. Morning. Thanks. Happy New Year. Take care, man. Good to see you. That guy's been walking the trail for a long time. As have I. I can smell the farm manure today. It's pleasant, I think. Grass, manure. I think it's really pleasant. Nice to smell the fermentation of life and its renewal. It's movement, it's change. It's very natural. So, yeah, I mean, if doctors, if you're listening, if you're watching, chime in. You know, rather than pointing the finger and playing tattletale like a little baby, Perhaps you can chime in and tell us what your experiences are like, because I've told you mine, and I feel like it issues a warning in itself telling the story, but I'm definitely driving it home even further by saying, be forewarned. When you go to an obstetrician and you're talking about wanting to conceive and talking to your gynecologist about what you need to do in preparation, I would have right by your side a experienced, seasoned doula who knows this inside and out and has done it. A female who has done it multiple times and have those open conversations like I am having them with you about what's really happening. So I am taking responsibility for my own errors in the past, and I'm not going to harp on them, nor am I going to make anyone feel guilty. However, I have issued a warning to parents and families who are considering either starting a family or expanding your family. Please do not regret anything. That's not going to help you. If you've had situations where you could have acted differently, please let go of all that. That'll only torture you. And aside from that, just be at peace. It's better. So we can get to the real meat and potatoes now. Anandamide, what does it do? Okay. Whoever thought that forgetfulness would be an answered prayer? I didn't think that for a long time, until I realized that it wasn't me losing my memory so much as I was decidedly deprioritizing certain elements of my life that were pain related through the endocannabinoid system being active. That's what I was doing. I was unconsciously filtering out situations that were painful and based in time in the past, and also made their way into the future through speculation. That was important. I realized that having my endocannabinoid system active was soothing. It helped me not only with pain reduction, but with memory reduction and revision, where I could let go and be at peace with a great number of difficult, challenging experiences. And if I were to present how I let things go by just not being there in my imagination, by revisiting and not being there, it would be seen as very insensitive by the world that I created erroneously. And we all have our worlds that we create with our own individualized life experience and set-top box. That's the body. You absorb life experiences in the body. And so your system is different than mine. However, it is fueled by the same source. Important to note. So we are all living our own unique life experience with our own body, and our own energetic field is involved. It's electromagnetic, and it is fed by the heart and mind, and it intertwines with Source, which is infinite, which is God. So we all have unique experiences. We collect them, we store them, we pass them on through genetics, and we ultimately influence each other in that way. However, we do have our own unique perspective on things always, as do I. And so I was led in this direction to give you a stark warning today. For some reason, it just came about. I don't choose the topics. Not often do I choose the topics in these morning walks. And today is no exception. Let's take a little breather. No more rushing. No more rushing right now. I'm recovering my breath and my energy. There's no rush. I'm not waiting for anything, nor am I rushing to anything. I simply observe. And that's what I did. After I went through the shock and awe of my daughter having died, on the first day of her birth, right then, she didn't even take in an inhale. It was just an exhale. And then flatline. Whatever spirit she brought into this world, she didn't bother to mingle with anything here. And after that, I realized that it wasn't beneficial for me to keep returning to it. You could say I'm returning to it now. Yes. I'm returning to it, observing this beautiful man, not from a distance, but as a part of him that isn't him. I'm a part of him, but I'm not him. So I can talk to you about these things on behalf of him. He started to realize that it was more beneficial to forget, even if it seemed foolish at the time, like putting one's head in the sand, like copping out. It was better to forget than to hold on to things. And so, anandamide has all to do with that. Endocannabinoids have all to do with that. Why is it that most babies, they forget most of their initial life experiences? I mean, it seems like they would be the most traumatic. And I would tell you that mine were registered in my body, but for some reason in my mind, they haven't been recalled. Not in detail can I remember being circumcised. Sure enough, it happened. Nor can I remember being fed bovine formula instead of mother's milk. That too. Can't recall. It seems like the endocannabinoid system is designed mainly for that. Forget about the most traumatic moments of your life so that you can move on and live and be free. That it would have something to do with that. While at the same time releasing a bunch of endorphins in the body might be of benefit to look into. And so I looked into it. I wanted to know what produces this anandamide and how can I get lots more of it. Well, you can't just put it in your body. To do that, you'll have to get its close relative, which I can't talk about in that way. So I'm just going to be cryptic. I spoke to you about anandamide's close relative. That's one way to get it in your body. And what it does is it mitigates pain for a time. And then you might develop a tolerance. And then the onset of addiction. What's beautiful about anandamide is you can be as addicted as you want. You reach a certain tolerance, I'll tell you what happens. Someone shouts in your face, you don't jump anymore. You don't leap out of your own skin. Your heart doesn't skip a beat anymore. It observes, but you feel it. You feel the shock in your body because the body still has pain from all those times that you jumped when you were otherwise jump scared and shocked. It's still there. At least with me, it's still there. I feel it like a rush. But the response is no longer there. I'm no longer compounding upon this story. I'm telling the body, okay, that's a shock wave, but are we in danger? No. Even if we were, as we have been at times, we're in the hands of God, aren't we? Yes. The body's like, oh, I can be calm. I can be calm, serene, and secure when someone yells in my face. Or does something crazy. Makes a loud noise. It's not going to knock the wind out of me. Someone says something that I don't like. Yeah, I may not like the words. I might feel them in my body because I've registered them as pain in the past. It doesn't move me so much anymore. Why? Because I have a system that is well developed to mitigate these problems. And that system is naturally produced in the body, by the body, from source. And I wanted to know, how can I produce more of this with better frequency and intensity so that I could be super chill. In fact, I could even be zen. No matter what came my way, no matter how challenging, no matter how persisting, in order to get a response from me, I would be totally chill. So I looked into, and forgive me, I don't know the Israeli scientist's name, and I plan to dedicate it to memory in honor of him. When I found out this direct similarity between anandamide and THC, I was like, wow. One is made by the body and the other one comes from a plant. The plant seems to be evolving with the body. It's intensifying in its strength and expression. A lot like how we have advanced technologically and in our form of expression. This must be a sign. Once again, no studies. I mean, you can read The Botany of Desire and get some good info. And you could see how cannabis was demonized in the 1900s. Totally demonized. After being embraced by humanity for 15,000 years. Suddenly across the board, it's nope, you don't want to be near this, you can't. It's illegal, in fact. It's a controlled substance now. Even though its direct cousin is being produced in the body with a system that it binds to, both the plant and what you're synthesizing, and has bound to for millions of years. Nope, can't have this anymore. And to me, it's just like as asinine as banning vitamin C. Because you can't overdose on it, because you have a system that synthesizes it. You can't overdose on it. That should tell you something. That should be very informative. And suddenly it's been stripped away from society. And why is that? Well, perhaps it provides the ability to overcome fearful, stress-based, anxiety-inducing situations that otherwise would cripple you if you didn't have access to it. And that it would be used as a tool to teach you how to build it in your body by yourself so that you never need to rely on anything outside of you. And that in itself will train your consciousness to be more resilient to stress naturally. Of course, we are torn apart by stress, worse than ever, having nightmarish situations in our minds carrying out throughout the day. It is no surprise that the medical industry and lobbyists are totally opposed to the legalization of this very medicinal plant, which I can't talk about for the same reasons that I've mentioned all of this. It helps you overcome your trauma. It helps you with pain reduction. It helps you to forget. Imagine if you had to remember every single face that you saw. You'd be so overwhelmed. Oh, that person must be important for some reason. Oh, this person must be important for some reason. You selectively choose so that you can live, so that you can be sane. You don't remember everybody's face, nor everything that you do every single day. However, if you do recall the majority of the things that you've done in a given day, that has a lot of benefit for your neuroplasticity. So it's not the same thing. I'm not saying there's no benefit to recalling your day's events when you go to sleep. That's like filing. What I'm saying is, we don't remember every single ridge on every tree, every word that's said to us by every person, and every detail on everyone's face every day of our life. Because that would be way too much information to process, and it would be a big waste of our adenosine triphosphate, the currency of our life, ATP. It would be a waste. So what do you think helps with that? The endocannabinoid system, directly relating with the hippocampus and the central nucleus of the amygdala, which is your pain and fear center. It's your fear center. So if I haven't been clear for you folks, it's just because there's so much. I mean, I've been talking for an hour, and I could go on for 24 hours discussing this, bringing up research, whatever limited amounts, but we could talk about it. I could talk to you about the botany of desire. We could discuss my own personal experiences with anandamide and how it's synthesized. And what I can tell you is black pepper, turmeric, black seed oil, ashwagandha. Those are the biggies. Tulsi. The adaptogenic Ayurvedic herbs help tremendously. Drink spring water so it decalcifies your pineal gland. This is where melatonin is released, and through the pituitary, serotonin, dimethyltryptamine, which is the hormone of God, or the God molecule, for a lack of better words, and the precursor synthesis for anandamide is there too. We're looking at a whole revolutionary new approach to how you take care of your body by leaving it alone and putting it in your own hands rather than the hands of doctors. And I already know how this is to be received. Stuffed into some corner. And I know that's an affirmation. At this point in time, there's so much momentum with that garbage of banning and shadow banning that I just don't know if it ever will reverse itself. If people will ever say, holy shit, this guy's got 200 plus videos out there. How is it that he only has 700 plus subscribers when these are hour-long recordings without any edits, and they're beautiful discourses on a number of life topics, including fourth dimensional living, which we are stepping into right now, psychopharmacology, behavior, botany, agriculture, biology. How is it that we're not disseminating this into the right circles? I stopped asking that question. I haven't reinforced it so much that it would continue like this, so I stopped asking that question. It's because I don't have the right amount of likes, comments, and subscribes. It's because I don't dress well enough. It's because I'm too old. It's because I'm male. It's because of all the surface-based bullshit that everyone seems to care more about than their own essence. That seems to be the reason. It's superficial, it's bullshit, and it is what it is. And it's a sign of a dying world. It's a sign of a placenta calcifying and on its way out. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm on the side of the baby. I am, no matter what. I have no fear of that. The question then becomes, which side are you on? I've asked that here before. So anandamide is produced not only through the supplementation that I mentioned before. Piperine helps with the absorption of turmeric. Ashwagandha, it's an adaptogen. Tulsi. Yarrow helps to decalcify your pineal gland. Makes it more flexible. And that starts to upgrade your cerebrospinal fluid. And then your body starts to upgrade entirely. Your intellect will improve. Your delivery improves. Your creativity improves. Your health improves. All naturally. And it's no surprise to me that everyone who promotes your consumption of fluoride comes from a doctor's office in some way. It's like I'm starting to see the correlations all across the board of how unbelievably sick these institutions are. They're just sick. And you got people who have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars collectively in their family for the education that gives them the right to practice this quote unquote medicine. And so they're bound by the devil's chains forever, indefinitely, bound in debt, never to be released of this until you're way later on in your life and you've indoctrinated however many hundreds or thousands or even millions of people into the same exact system that you were peddling for however many years. And that's sad to me. It's sad, but it's true. Because I see it. everywhere. You can't say you're not doing it. You can't say you're not cutting into women and planning out their birth date, the day of giving birth. You can't say you're not doing that. You can't say you're not taking the baby away immediately from the mother's arms. All these things that I mentioned about the colostrum and breastfeeding, you can't say that you're not peddling bovine formula for the convenience of the mother onto a baby who needs those antioxidants and all the beneficial elements that come from mother's milk. Her genetics, her direct genetics. Not to mention you're poisoning it by feeding the mother specific supplements or whatever what have you, to make it so if she feeds, it hurts the baby. It's like, oh, man. And all of this is going away. So you can't say you're not doing it. Tell me, show me how you're helping. I'm putting it out there. And if I see silence, and if I get a warning, then I know that I'm right. If no one speaks up about this, if no one offers data or anything beyond a subjective opinion, I know I'm right. It's proof. At this point, it's proof. Do I want ill will to fall upon doctors? No, I want you to stop torturing people. I want you to stop torturing mothers. I want you to start recognizing fathers, and I want you to care for babies in the right way. I want you to be there for the birth rather than scheduling it for your convenience. I want you to be better. That's what I want. Am I going to get that? Why would you ever serve me? You'd have to do it for yourself. And I can tell you, the next 4 years are going to demand it. The next 4 years demand this. And I'm just giving you the memo early. That's what William means in Spanish. It means memo. M-E-M-O. Did you know that? Yeah, that's how you say William. It's his nickname in Spanish, memo. So I just gave you your memo. I can't wait to upload this one today. Thought I'm going to go into the woods peacefully. I feel the anandamide, and then it was, no, you're going to talk about atrocities with pregnancy and how doctors schedule the birth for their convenience. For their convenience. And disguise it as empowerment for the woman through all these beautiful services. Just wanted to bring it to your attention today, folks. No need to share, no need to subscribe, no need to follow. God knows I've asked continuously and for long enough to no avail, no matter where I post this. So at this point in time, taking away this channel, what loss would there be? I mean, there's no monetization. I mean, it's a storage of videos. You think I haven't had those things taken away from me? It's like I had 3+ years of my novel writing taken away from me from Substack of all places, which claims to be a free speech platform. So anything goes at this point, nothing to lose. And wouldn't be surprised either. So I'm just going to speak my mind. And this is me doing it. I do this for the protection of children, mothers, and fathers. And I say, screw the doctors who are opposed to it. Even an iota of what I've said, screw them. And the ball is in their court. God bless you all. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the days to come. I'm so thrilled and waiting for change for once. Amen.